Happy Open Week and welcome to our OER Student Panel. This webinar is brought to you by Collab4Open. Collab4Open is part of the Ontario College's Open Working Group, which brings together Ontario colleges to celebrate, in this case, Open Education Week through collaboration and shared learning. And so you'll see that we have a collaboration of Centennial College, Conestoga College, and Fanshawe OER Design Studio. Next slide, please. At this time, I invite you to let us know where you're coming from. So my name is Kimberly Carter. I'm the Open Educational Resource Consultant here at Conestoga College, and I lead the Open Learning team. And I would like to begin by acknowledging that I'm joining today from Kitchener, located on the Haldimand Tract, land promised to the Haudenosaunee people of Six Nation, which includes 6 miles on either side of the Grand River. This is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and neutral peoples, and I wish to express my gratitude and appreciation to those whose territory I reside on as one way of honoring the Indigenous people who have been living and working on the land for thousands of years. Great. Just checking the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything. Next slide, please. So today our panel includes panel introductions, and you're going to be hearing from students working within open education labs, teams, and studios, and they'll share their perspectives on open, the types of projects they work on, and what a day in the life of an OER assistant entails. And then we'll have some time for questions. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to start by co-creation an education quote from one of our previous OER assistants. One surprising aspect of open education is the extent to which it fosters global collaboration among educators and learners. The idea that individuals from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and educational systems can come together to share resources, knowledge, and teaching practices in an open environment is quite remarkable. And that was from Esther Oka. She was one of our OER assistants last semester. Next slide, please. All right, so at this time, I would like to invite the panel members to introduce themselves, tell us what program and where you're studying and what your job position is in the open environment that you're working in. And I think we will just follow the slides, the people's slides as they are. So Naomi, would you like to start?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Yes, my name is Naomi Mendoza, and I am currently studying game programming at Centennial College right now, and I'm working for the OER lab as one of the student developers for our textbooks that the professors are giving us. Thank you.
Thanks, Naomi. Carlos?
Yeah, thank you very much, Naomi. Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos, and I am the tech lead for the OER department at Centennial College right now. And of course, I'm attending Centennial. My program is a software engineering technology, AI. Thank you.
Awesome. And next,
Hello, my name is Kichao John. I'm in Centennial College and I'm studying software engineering. And I'm working with Carlos and Naomi to develop the OER resources for specifically physics books right now. And I'm happy to here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. And Sartak.
Thank you so much, Kim. Hello, everyone. I'm Sarthak. I work in Kimberly's department, and I'm based off at Brantford campus, studying a software engineering student. And I basically create resources for professors, teachers, and it's fun to work as an OER assistant here at Conestoga. Happy
Thank
to
you,
see
Sartak. Silvana?
Yes, so hello everyone. My name is Silvana and I work as an open educational assistant in Conestoga College. I am currently studying my program that is strategic marketing communications. I am in my 4th level, so I'm about to graduate. And I have been working with this open educational team for 3 terms. So it has been a really good experience.
Thank you, Silvana. And last but not least, Devin?
Hi, everyone. My name's Davin. I'm currently studying at Fanshawe College. I'm taking their computer programming and analysis. I'm just finishing up my last co-op and will be graduating this April. Excited for that. And yeah, I've been working with the studio on a variety of their textbooks for the last I think it's almost been a year now.
Terrific. Well, welcome and thank you. Thanks, everyone. All right. So at this time, we're going to jump right into the questions. I don't think there's another slide there, Mindy, is there? No, just our references. You can have them at the end. Great. So I would like to get started. So my first question is for Naomi. Why did you initially apply to the OER assistant position?
This is actually a very interesting story. I come from the game programming program in our college, and we were encouraged to apply across job openings that are not really where our programs are designated usually. Like for me, I'm from games. I tried applying everywhere that was available to gain experience. I tried applying to banks, to e-commerce, to other fields that would involve like even data entry openings, right? But I have this gut feeling that maybe I'm missing something. So I tried to approach my co-op advisor and told her that I felt like I'm spreading myself too thin. So she told me to use my strengths and look for positions that I can showcase my own creativity. Luckily, the position was open there from our co-op portal. That's the first job description that actually fit my strength as a game programmer, which is UI design. So I was so happy that the opportunity popped up. And that was the first interview I ever had. And that's the only interview that I have ever needed. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. How interesting. Silvana, would you like to go next?
Yes, for sure. So yeah, as Naomi mentioned, when I was applying for jobs, I was like trying to look for something that could be really interesting for me and where I could apply some of my strengths. So yeah, when I was applying for the jobs, I looked for the career service at Conestoga. That is our portal to find like jobs here in the college. So I applied like for this position because I was like really happy to the option to help like to build content because I have a marketing background. So to create content that was useful for students. So for that reason, I applied because I thought that was really interesting to have like my experience created content applied to textbooks that are open to the students. So yeah, it was a really good opportunity to have this position.
Thank you, Savannah. Devin, would you like to jump in next?
Hey, yeah, so originally I was kind of just looking for co-ops, looking around. And then I had a classmate who suggested the studio to me because they had been working there for their previous co-ops. And when I looked at it, I was the same kind of thing. It was like, hey, this is in line with what I'm taking. And I also kind of have that interest in design. So it was a really interesting opportunity. And then as soon as we did the interview, I think we all knew that this was a place that was good for me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to move on to the next question and try to mix up who's answering. How does being a student add value to the role? Sartak, would you like to start us off?
Yes, why not? So being a student, I believe it is very valuable since we are working for the students for their benefit. Since we are just cutting the cost for books that students have to pay for, they can basically use these books, download it, keep it as a PDF, print it out, because many of my books in my course are outdated. And secondly, you cannot even download them. So I believe working as an OER assistant is very valuable because a lot of friends around me who want to learn French, I can mention about Pressbook that we released recently. It was like back 2 semesters before. And many of them wanted to learn French but looking for paid courses. But this book came in handy for them. They just downloaded it, starting using it, and just preparing for French, preparing for their permanent residency and everything. So I believe this role adds a lot of value to students as well as professors.
Excellent. Thank you, Sartak. Gichel, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. I think it helps me a lot because it is good to be a student while doing an OER assistant role because I can reflect my previous OER experiences while developing the OER contents, right? And as a student in online software engineering program, I understand the challenges, gaps, and needs of online learners. And at the same time, like this allows me to develop OER materials that are more engaging, accessible, and useful for the students. And in addition, being a student means I'm directly benefit from the OERs. So I have a strong like motivation, personal motivation to create high quality and freely available and verified educational contents. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And over to Devin.
I think being a student, it's like because I can tell a lot of the other panel members also have experience in tech, and one of the biggest things in tech is testing, and it's super hard to test things on an audience or to know how to test things on an audience that you have no idea what they're expecting. So as a student, you're writing content for yourself, basically. You are a student. You know what other students like. You know what they don't like. You know what a bad textbook looks like. You know what a good textbook looks like. And I think having that kind of second perspective to the work that we do is extremely beneficial for what we're doing.
Thank you so much. And over to Naomi.
Oh, yes. Let me add on to everything that has been said. As a student, we also add in the quality of what we expect for an OER to be, or at least have that perspective, right? That these information should be highlighted. These information can be turned into images and be more engaging to the students. And it is very important as students to have this experience as well, that we practice what is being taught in the class. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to switch up to a different question now. What was your knowledge about open education prior to working in the various teams, labs, and studios that you work in now? And I'd like to start with Carlos.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So before joining the OER lab, I didn't have any idea about what OER was actually. But as soon as I encountered OER, I was able to draw like some similitudes or things in common with open source software. So to give a little bit of context, I have some professional experience. So I've already contributed to open source and I kind of understood like the licensing system for open source software. So both things are very similar. Like in OER, you have licenses like Creative Commons, which are licenses that are open for everyone. Like these resources are open for everyone to consume. So both things are very similar. And whenever people ask me what do I do, and they are developers, I explain that I do open source educational material pretty much. So yeah, as soon as I learned about OER, it was kind of easy to understand what it was, and especially after you learn about the licensing systems and the amazing like resources that are out there for you to build upon. So
Thank you, Carlos. I'd like to turn it over to Savannah. Oh, sorry, did I cut you off? Oh, good. Okay,
Nope.
Silvana.
Yes. So as Carlos mentioned, previously to this role, I didn't have any idea of open educational resources neither. It was like a good opportunity when I got selected for this role. It was a really good opportunity to learn about like all the open educational resources that we have here in Conestoga. So it was like a really good way, and I was amazed for all the resources that we have as a student, but I didn't know about that. So I was starting to read like all of the materials that I have available, and it was a really nice opportunity to learn like all the books that are prepared or all the materials that are prepared for the students, but we didn't have any idea of that. So it was like non-previous knowledge, but then after that, I had the opportunity to learn a lot about them.
That's great. Thank you so much, Savannah. And over to Devin.
Yeah, I feel like my experience was a lot similar. I had zero experience going into the position, and then after working and experience what the whole ecosystem of what the open education, like there's so many colleges and universities that have provided like so many materials that are now available to anyone, and it's just an amazing thing to be part of.
That's great. Thank you so much. So I'm going to move on to the next question, which is what have you learned so far about open education? Sort of a complementary question to the first one. Sartak, may I start with you?
Yes, thank you so much. So far, I have learned a lot of things working as an OER assistant. First of all, same as everyone, I'm from the technology background and I love to test things. So it has given me an experience working on a content management system to test things from a student perspective as well as a user perspective and creating them as well. So overall, it was a great experience testing links, creating H5Ps. And from this, one important thing which I learned was accessibility, making sure that whatever projects that I create for myself, I do add and consider the IOTA standards in it. So this was a great opportunity to work as an OER assistant and getting to learn about these things.
Thank you so much, Sartak. Moving over to Gitchell.
Yeah, so previously I also have no idea what OER or open education is before, but after my current experience of working in OER labs here in Centennial College, I appreciate the concepts of like OERs because they really help reduce the high cost of the educational materials, and at the same time they are making more accessible learning materials for the students. And throughout my experiences so far, I've learned that OERs are freely accessible, available, and openly licensed materials that can be adapted, shared, and modified to suit different learning needs. And they also promote like inclusivity and accessibility and ensuring that students have equal opportunity to access the educational materials. So overall, I believe OERs play a crucial role in making education more affordable, accessible, adaptable, and at the same time, in empowering both students and educators.
That's great. Thank you so much. So I'm going to move on to the next question. In what ways or activities have you promoted open educational resources to classmates? And Devin, may I start with you?
Yeah, when I started developing and working in the studio, it was kind of like a weird position. And also, like the first textbook in the IT department just started getting developed like this semester. So, in regards of promoting it to my classmates directly, there wasn't much that I knew about. But when it comes to talking to others, and I always get the question, like, do you recommend Fanshawe, or like what do you think about the courses and all this stuff? I always put a little thing in there about OER and the benefits that have been provided by all of these schools because everybody worries about the cost of school and what is it going to cost me and all this stuff. Knowing that there are programs provided that their textbooks are completely provided free of charge through OER is a huge benefit for a lot of students. So I always try to put that in there when people ask me about what I feel about the school.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Savannah, can I turn the same question over to you?
Yes, for sure. So as David mentioned, yeah, I like to share the information with my classmates. So every time that I have the opportunity, I tell them like what I do for my job, like what are the tasks that I am doing. And even I have shared with them like some projects that are finalized, that are done, so they could have a look of those materials. So yeah, it's like being an ambassador of OER, like with my classmates, trying to tell them what to have first-hand information. And yeah, it's like a really good way to share with information with them. And I shared the website of the Open Learning team as well, like so they can have a look of all the materials that we have available over there. And additionally, I like to share like any content that is published on LinkedIn. So for example, if my manager made any posting, I like to reshare the information with all my network, so they could have an idea of OER. And finally, I like to participate in any events that are made. For example, today here in Conestoga, we are having a booth in the DTK campus. So I like to participate in those events, like telling the students what do we do in open educational team and the open educational resources that we have available.
That's great. Thank you, Savannah. Turning over to Sartak.
Sorry, I was unable to unmute myself. Yes, I would say first contribution, again, coming from a technology background and studying in the same course, I promote it in a way of open source education. So a lot of us do contribute to open source projects in our course, and a lot of my friends are excited about those things. So I mentioned that I work as an open source educational assistant, so they get excited with it. And a few of my friends, I shared my work with them that these are the press books that I created, and here are all the projects on the website you can see. And many of those are taking benefit from it. As I mentioned before, one of them was the French course, which many of them are doing right now. And since now the tax clinic is here, like the tax season is here, we just created one on tuition tax credit. So it is a really great OER which can benefit students to know how tax system works in Canada. If they want to file one for themselves, they would exactly know 100%ly that, okay, these are what is T2002, like going if in the details of it. So I believe around myself and to the students in my class, or if somebody asks me about what OER is, I portray it this way that this is an open source contribution in educational department.
That's great. Thank you. So that leads us into, I know Sartak was giving a little bit away. What's been the most exciting project you have worked on? And so as each of our panel members answer, feel free to screen share. Hopefully that is working with our technical challenges today, and show off some of the things you've been involved in. And so happy to start with Carlos.
Sure. Okay, perfect. So in my case, so me and my team, we are pretty new to the OER lab. We've been working on a physics book, and I'm very excited to show our work because we did some customizations recently to implement a new strategy of applying CSS, essentially the styling of the book. So I would like to go ahead and share my screen and provide you a little bit of context in terms of what we're doing. So give me just 1 second. I'm logging in right here. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen now. So sharing my screen. Sorry for the delay. This is live. Entire screen. Park. Here we go. Are you guys able to see my screen?
We are. Thank you.
Great. So this is the physics book that we've been working on. I selected chapter 6 because we think this chapter is well made. So essentially what you see here is just a normal book. Many of you guys have seen this, especially the guys working in OER. But also you guys who work on OER are developers, so you guys know what Tailwind is. Sorry for the non-technical people, you guys might not understand what it is, but it's essentially a way to, so we have HTML and CSS, and I'm going to give a quick overview of this. HTML is essentially how you structure a website. If you want to have a heading, you use HTML to explicitly say you want a heading. Now, in terms of CSS, this is how you apply the styles to the HTML. And what we've done is that I'm going to showcase this especially for the technical people, and sorry, the non-technical people, my bad. So essentially right here, if you guys can see within the HTML, here we have an H1 tag. And as you can see right here, we have an M-0. So this is essentially saying that I want to apply margin 0 to this heading here. So for the guys that understand what Tailwind is, we essentially implemented Tailwind within Pressbooks, and this is allowing us to keep our developers and our focus in the HTML directly without having to move to custom styles for the book and move to another context, and instead just keep focused in one place. So let me go ahead and close this and just give you a quick tour of how this book is looking. We are very happy with the results. And we believe this book, like every book or every OER has a different level of complexity. And we believe that this book specifically has a high level of complexity because we have a lot of images. All of these images have to be attributed. We have a lot of formulas. All of these formulas have to be not only confirmed because, you know, it's physics. So everything has a precise solution and the formula has to be precise. The variables in the formula have, everything has to be explicitly explained and very precise. So yeah, we think it is looking great. And also something very important that I want to say, the last thing, is that OER is meant to be accessible. Everyone has said the same thing. And what does accessible means? So there's a branch of software development called accessibility, which is for people who might have a handicap or impairness. But also there's also the topic of how consumable your content or OER is. So if you're a student like myself, sometimes if you're commuting, you might want to consume that book. And in our case, our book is fully responsive. So you can use it not only in a desktop, but you can also use it in a tablet. You can consume it in mobile, and it is functional for all breakpoints and window resolutions, essentially. So thank you very much. That's my quick demo.
Thank you. That looks like a very, very exciting project. And please feel free to pop it in the link so others could peruse it if you like. Maybe I'll turn the same question. So what's the most exciting project you've worked on? And feel free to screen share to Savannah.
Yes, so I have worked in some very interesting projects related with business, with finance, with international trade. But I will say that the one that I liked the most, that was more exciting for me, was a Spanish workbook, because since my first language is Spanish, it was like a really good opportunity to have like my knowledge in that book. And so it was really interesting. Sorry, I am not able to share it because I am from my mobile, because we are having like internet issues here in Conestoga right now. So I am from my mobile and I am not able to share it, but I would say that it has like really interactive, a lot of interactive activities. And it's really nice to have that book because it helps like with not only with theory, it helps with practical exercises. So it was like a really good way to learn Spanish for those that want to learn that language.
Thank you, Savannah. And, you know, those are the gifts that students bring, right? Bringing that experience and that, as I know many of you mentioned earlier, being able to have those student eyes, but also that knowledge coming to ensure it really resonates with people. Devin, may I turn it over to you next?
Yeah. So one of the projects that I was working on was a navigating HR textbook. And doesn't sound that exciting, but when we did the design of the book, we really went in and made sure that it had a very like a really good flow in the design. So I'm just going to share it here. Give me 1 second. So can you see my screen?
We can, thank you.
Okay, so we wanted to have the whole book based off, it's a company called Runners Relay. And we did the first section is going to be our graphic designer went in and made avatars for each of the characters that you're going to see throughout the book. So then we have here, we have the office staff, and then below we have the manufacturing staff. So then throughout the book, there's going to be case studies that involve the actual workers and situations that you would encounter and how to properly deal with them. So then we'll go to the case study. And we did basically each case study is designed the same way, but each one has the avatars and has that flow of, okay, we're going to understand the people, their positions. Here's the scenario. And then we're going to have the script, which is going to be the interaction between those employees. We actually had, I forget who did it, but somebody did the voiceovers for it. So each of these scripts is actually has a live recording of it. Then each section has its exercise, its coaching notes, which were designed to look as if they were actually written by hand. And then we have a proper script at the bottom. So this is how you would expect the conversation to be. The first one's sometimes a little aggressive. Somebody says something wrong. The second one is, okay, now we're going to have that conversation, but this is how it properly should be. And throughout the textbook, we use the same design. And it was just a really interesting project that we had to basically show off the creativity of the studio as well as being able to keep it with a good flow.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. And please also feel free to pop that in the chat. I'm sure people would like to dive in there a little bit more.
Sure.
Sarthak, did you want to go next?
Yes, why not? So as I was mentioning about the tax clinic one, let me quickly share my screen. Is this visible?
Yes, we can see. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So moving around along with it, before that, I would like to share that I come from a technology background. So I did my bachelor's in the same field and then doing my postgrad in the same field. But when I came to Canada last year, there was a thing called volunteering, which is a lot in Canada compared to where I come from. So then there was a volunteering opportunity in the tax department last year in the month of March, I believe. So I just applied and went through the whole process, getting my own personal e-file number to file taxes for students for Conestoga College. And that is when I got to know about taxes and how it works in Canada. So I can save money every year by giving it to someone and file one for my own self. So then I got the opportunity to work on this e-textbook and I can show it to you. So let me go. It is already open. Perfect. So specifically mentioning, I worked on this part, which is the Canada training credit. So we created a great interface with H5Ps in it. You can turn around the cards, like, in H5P Studio, we have this facility to use these and we can reuse them as well. So overall, it was a great experience working for this book. And I also designed the main poster, which you saw outside for it. So it was a great experience, and bringing that background of volunteering for tax clinic, then creating this book, I believe it was really great for me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I'm going to turn the next question is like, what is a typical shift like? What's a typical shift? And feel free, I know we all call the team, studio, or labs differently, so feel free to maybe expand upon that as well. And I would start with Carlos.
Okay, sure. So like I said before, I come from the Centennial OER lab. I am the tech lead for the team. And a typical shift day starts with a morning stand-up. So I've tried to implement an agile process to simulate like a real world scenario, of course. In that meeting, everyone takes a turn to essentially express what they did the day before, what they are doing that current day, and if they have any blockers, any external blockers. Um, we generally spend 30 to 45 minutes for that meeting, and then we just move on to start working on OER. So during the day, I'm creating tickets. I'm taking a role of a product manager too. So I'm managing a Jira set of tickets or user stories. Of course, you guys in the panel know what this system of tickets with Agile is. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing during the day. Then at the end of the day, we have a quick meeting to unwind and just everyone tells me if they have any other blockers and stuff like that. And then we just repeat that every day essentially. So we go to the office twice a day. It's a hybrid type of work. And when we go to the office, we all work together. We don't have separate desks. We all work in an area together, which is it brings communication. It allows us to work together and everyone focus on one thing at a time if we have to. It's a good moment for me to bring the team like brain teasers. I always bring some different question with different topics. The latest one we did was a setup of SQL databases, how to configure a specific feature, and we spent like an hour thinking about it, and it was really fun to interact in that sense. Thank you.
Do you mind if I ask you a follow-up question? Because I think this might help because our teams are set up differently. Are you primarily all full-time co-op students, or do you have a mixture of like part-time work study students?
So at least in my case, I'm a full-time student, and I think everyone in my team is too. Everyone is working, yeah, full-time right now, and then actually starting full-time too.
Great, thank you so much.
Of
Davin,
course.
can I turn it over to you next?
Yeah. So my typical day usually starts as a typical day in the office. You come in, check your email, check your messages, see if there's any new content from any of the authors. And then I try and catch up on anything that has been going on, make sure there's new content, it gets in the textbook. If there's any updates, those are done. Check Asana, make sure if there's any tasks assigned that are due today, get them done. And then beyond that, when we're kind of caught up, there's not much going on. We really try to focus on external projects. Well, add-on projects, making automation tools, improving our styling, making templates, kind of just making things to streamline our future work in the studio, which is a really cool part of the job because there's no expectation of like you have to do this, you have to do this, but there's that openness of okay, if you can spend the time and make a tool that's going to improve our workflow, do it. And that's really an awesome opportunity for anybody who's interested in tech because then we get to express that technical side of where we come from.
Thank you. That's really lovely. And would you mind also expanding on the sort of arrangement? Is mostly full-time co-op students or a mixture of co-op and part-time work study? How does it work for in your lab studio?
We have a mix. There's a few full-time. I'm currently working full-time, but I know that we have a handful of part-time students as well. There's like a weird like mix right now because we always get new students every semester, but then we've had a few people in the studio that have been there for a while now. So it's a really good mix, regardless of if you're part-time or full-time. Everybody kind of understands what's going on for the day.
That's terrific. Thanks so much for sharing that. I'll turn the question over to Savannah.
Okay, so since I am a part-time student, like sorry, I am a full-time student and a part-time, this is a part-time role for me as an OER assistant. So I am like balancing my time between my studies and my job. So what the first thing that I do when I start working is to check like all the priorities or the projects that I have, or all the tasks that I need to do every day. So I start like organizing my time, doing like analyzing what time is going to take or how long is it going to take the task for me in order to meet the deadlines that we have. So like I will say like the first thing that I do like every day when I start working is to analyzing all the tasks that I have and prioritizing in a certain way in order to meet the deadlines. So it has worked well for me, and we were able to, or we had been able to meet the deadlines.
That's great. And Savannah, I'll give you the same question I gave the other two. Do you know what the mix-up is in the Open Learning team?
Well, yes, we have in our Open Learning team, we have one full-time student that he is in co-op, and we have some part-time, like I think we are 4 part-time students working right now.
Great. Thank you so much for that. So just before I turn it over to the audience for any questions, has there any student that really wants to speak about something and I missed you? I just want to give you an opportunity to do that so that you don't leave wishing that you had been able to say something that you didn't.
I can add one more thing.
Okay, thank you.
So I have also given an opportunity to create an idea of what OERs are through videos and audio. So I personally have a content creation background as I run my own channel as well. So that experience I can put in OER. So I'm basically also working on media assets where I'm creating presentations with my own voice, which will go on the YouTube channel out for students. So they would know what OERs are, and it can come quite handy since it has small chapters in it, which are just for like 2 to 3 minutes. So that is also very exciting. I wanted to add in this talk.
Thank you, Sartak. Anyone else before I switch it over to questions and answer period? All right. So with that, does our audience have any questions? Because I'm on a really small screen, I didn't notice if there was anything in the chat. As if anyone's been watching the chat, if there's something in there that I missed, please jump in. Questions? I would just want to thank all of the OER assistants, developers. I know you have a multitude of different types of titles for coming and presenting today. I'll be sharing out the recording later, but there's lots of Open Education Week activities, so please check it out and participate. And again, thank you so much and happy Open Education Week.